great pleasure to invite all of you to this, to DakshinaChitra on this rather warm evening. This is the inauguration of the permanent exhibitions at the Moplah House. We are inaugurating two exhibitions. One is the Living Ocean, curated by Parvathi Nayar, which reflects something that we are all speaking, which is climate change and global warming. And the second exhibition, curated by Dr. Tyagarajan, offers glimpses into Kozhikode. It also involves 3 documentary films by Samuel. To begin, may I request Ananya to sing the invocation. She is singing in the raga Amrita Varshini, which, as we all know, is about rain, abundance, water, and which I think we all feel quite acutely at this moment. May I call on Ananya.
Gange cha Yamune Shaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalasmin Sanidhim Kuru Anandamrita Kashini Amrita Kashini Haradi Pujite Shive Bhavani Anandamrita Kashini Amrita Kashini Haradi Pujite Shive Bhavani Anandamrita Kashini Amrita Kashini Haradi Pujite Shive Bhavani Anandamrita Kashini Shri Nandanadi Samrakshini Shri Nandanadi Samrakshini Shri Guru Goha Janani Shri Nandanadi Samrakshini Shri Guru Goha Janani Chidrupini Sananda Vidayanaye Sadaye Satya Shubhishkir Tame Tvam Santatam Chintaye Amriteshwari Sahiram Vasaya 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 Sananda Vidayanaye Sadaye Satya Shubhishkir Tame Tvam Santatam Chintaye Amriteshwari Sahiram Vasaya 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 Nandamrita Kashini Amrita Varshini Haradi Pujite Shive Bhavani Anandamrita Kashini.
Thank you, Ananya. Now the rains had better follow your singing. We'd like to now have the lighting of the lamp. May I request our chief guest to also come in, and a very warm welcome to all our chief guests, Ms. Supriya Sahu, Ms. Malini Shankar, Ms. Anil Wali, and Mr. Gavana.
Parvathi a great deal of work. When I asked her to curate this exhibition, she had to do it from scratch. She had to do all the research. She had to find the fabricators and get everything fabricated. I don't think she felt it was going to be as much work as it turned out to be, but I think it turned out well. To say a little bit about the Moplah House, this is the 1914 house from Kozhikode, from Curated, which is the oldest part of Calicut, Kozhikode. And the house was owned by traders. Of course, the ocean had a big effect on the Muslim families in Calicut, in the Malabar area, because they were mainly exporters and importers. Their fortunes fell. This house had more than 200 people living in it at one time. In fact, the reason all the houses in Curated are coming down is because nobody can live with 200 people in a house anymore. And they've all, members of this family have all gone their own ways for their own houses. So now I'll let Parvathi say something about her exhibition.
Welcome to all of you who are gathered here this rather hot afternoon to come and see the living ocean. So water is a substance that fascinates me, and when you mix salt and water you get the stuff of our sweat and our tears and the waters that lap up against the shore of the city in which we live. And the birth of the show happened in a way in those waters in that beach when I met Pale Manna, and I was fascinated by the knowledge that he had. I wanted to make a film that spoke to us just as the sea spoke to him. And when I discussed this with Debbie, who is truly visionary, she really is, I give you Debra Tyagarajan, who suggested that the context of this film could be something larger. It could be a show that celebrated the ocean, but also brought our attention to the state of the ocean, if you like. Because the ocean is under tremendous stress from human activity, whether it is pollution or climate change or global warming or the degradation of habitats. So this show came together in a way to show this, and it is also sort of site-specific to the place we are in, the kind of people who come here. So there are a number of threads that are drawn together. We have infographic installations, we have films, we have installations, we have contemporary artworks, and it's been incredibly exciting and challenging, as Debbie said, to curate something which is a hybrid art show. So I do want to tell you that almost everything that has been made for the show has been made from scratch. Everything is new, barring one or two works. And what this has allowed is for works to talk to each other. So you have the film on Pale Manna, and there is a story of kola fishing, that is flying fish enacted through puppetry. In the same room you have a painting, a watercolor from 1802, when Mary Simmons, an Englishwoman, traveled from England to Chennai and painted the waters of Kovalam. You have a lovely installation by the Hashtag Collective where coastal endangered birds vanish before your eyes. In a room, Madhu Vishwanathan has created this wonderful immersive sound installation where the sound of birds is asking you to listen to them. There are inspirational stories about upcycling being a very important way of dealing with waste. You have the lovely metal crabs created by P. Madhukar that uses upcycled and scavenged metal. In this way, there are many little conversations that happen right through the show, and I hope you'll pay attention and become part of these conversations. Talking to people and, to research the show, which was an incredible process of talking to scientists and writers, the news is really bad. I mean, it really is. But what we also have are inspirational stories, people who are working to make a difference, and we're delighted to celebrate them in the show, and some of them are here today. Arun Krishnamurthy, who is somewhere around, Supraja Dharani, and maybe Yuvan. People from Chennai who are working to make a difference, which means that none of us can say we can't do anything. Each one of us can make a difference. A show like this would not happen without an incredible amount of work and support. And I'm sorry if I miss out names, but you all know who you are. But I must single out the wonderful team at DakshinaChitra, Debbie, Sharat, Anita. A special shout out to Shruti, to Lalita, to Shashikala, to Amir, to all of you who are gathered here. My special thanks to Sudhi and his team from Madras Terrace Architects, who unstintingly helped me put up the show in many ways. To Reggie Burgess, who helped with the R&D of the diatoms, which are dear to my heart, that whole metal installation. So all of you who've helped, really deep thanks to you. And most of all, I must mention Sindura, who is the graphic designer. And it was an incredibly generous collaboration where there was a heartfelt exchange and a no-holds-barred exchange of ideas, and it was exciting to see it take shape. So I think all of you came forward and worked so hard because you believed in me, and mostly in the ocean. Because the ocean is both immediate and it is eternal. It has been our greatest tool in fighting climate change, but it now needs our help. And that, not that I believe art needs messages, but if there is a takeaway from the living ocean, it is this, that the living waters of the ocean need to be safeguarded so that it is a legacy to a generation that comes after us. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of the show. One last request, can I just have the other artists who are here to come up? Madhukar, Sarah, Biju, Palemana, Madhu, please come up and take a bow.
Palemana is going to say a few words, after which we will go inside and watch a bit of the film that Parvathi has made, and Parvathi will do a walk around. This event is 2 locations. After the walk around, we all move to the Kanali Mandapam, where the rest of the event follows.
நான் ஊரூர் மீனவர் குடும்பத்தை சேர்ந்தேன். என்னோடய வேலை சயின்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸிங் தான் வேலை. நான் அன்றைக்கி இருக்கிற காலகட்டத்தில் நான் நித்யான்னா எப்போவுமே நாங்கள் காலையில் 5 மணிக்கு போகிறது வளர்த்தோம். அப்படி போகும்போது ஒரு நாள் மின்குட்டி சொல்கிறார், இந்த மாதிரி பார்வதி மேம் ஒண்டி உங்களை பார்க்க வராங்க, உங்களை பார்க்க வரதுனால நம்ம 2 பேர் கொஞ்சம் லேட்டாக போகலாமா அப்படின்னு கேட்டார், பர்மிஷன் கேட்டார். நித்யானந்த ஜெயராமனா ரொம்ப எழுத்தாளர், எடிட்டர், லயோலா காலேஜில் லெக்சர்னு கூட சொல்லலாம். நிறைய எழுத்தாளர், நிறைய படித்தவர். அதனால் என் கூட பயணிப்பார். ஏன்னா சயின்ஸ் ஆஃப்ஸி அல்ல குறையாத ஒரு துறையாக இருக்கிறதுனால அவர் என் கூட பயணித்தார். மேடம் வந்து பார்க்குறாங்க, கடலை பார்க்குறாங்க, காற்றை பார்க்குறாங்க, நீரோட்டத்தை பார்க்குறாங்க, மண்ணை பார்க்குறாங்க, என்ன பாடையெல்லாம் என்ன பண்ணுறாருன்றதை என்னோட நோட்டத்தை பார்க்கறதுக்காக வந்தாங்க. வந்தவங்களோட ஒரு 10 இயக்குநர்கள் வந்தாங்க. அதில் யாருமே எங்கே இருக்கிற கதையை பார்த்தா 16 ஸ்டோரிஸ் இருக்குது. ஒவ்வொன்றும் ஒரு வரலாறு படிக்கிற மாதிரி இருக்குது. அது மேம் சோட்சி இது வந்து பார்வதி மேம் போகிறது வந்து அதாவது பறக்கும் மீன்கள், அதாவது பறக்கோலான்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதோட வரலாறு பெரிய வரலாறு. அன்றைக்கி 50 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்னாடி அதோட விஷயம் நீங்கள் அந்த படத்து மூலிமா இந்த வரைபடம் எடுத்துக்கிறோம் இல்லையா, அதை மூலிமா நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அது எந்த ஒரு சூழலாக இருக்குன்றது. பேராசை பெருநஷ்டன்ற மாதிரி அதில் படக்கூடாது. 2வது சயின்ஸோட நோக்கம் 6. 1 பெரும்பாலும் கடலாண்ட வந்தோன்னா நீச்சல் மிக முக்கியம். மீனோட வாழ்வாதாரம் எடுத்து உரைக்கணும், அங்கோட சூழலையும் எடுத்து உரைக்கணும். மீனோட மொழி முக்கியம். 4வது எந்த ஒரு சூழலையும் பொயில மீன்கூட்டி சொல்கிறத ஒரு விஷயமா இருக்கணும். 5வது கடலை அம்மாவா பார்க்குறோம். 6வது காற்றை பாட்டனா பார்க்குறோம். இந்த அடிப்படை வச்சு தான் சயின்ஸ் ஆப்ஷன் நோக்கம். 5 ஆண்டுகளாக பல கஷ்டங்கள், பல இன்னல்கள், அதை காத்து மீறி அந்த டேட்டா எடுத்தனால தான் இந்த இடத்துல தட்சன் சித்ரால இந்த வரைபடம் எடுத்த நம்ம பார்வதி மேம், நித்யானந்த ஜெயராம் அண்ணா, எனது சரவணன், துர்கா தேவி, இவன் சதீஷ் என்ற ஆலம்பரில் இருந்த அவர் தம்பி, எங்கள் பாடுபடுறவங்க எத்தனை பேரும் இந்த சயின்ஸ் ஆஃப் சிக்கு ஊக்கத்தம் கொடுத்து இன்றைக்கும் இப்போ நீங்கள் காற்று இல்லை அப்படின்னும் போது இன்னைக்கு நார்த் சைடாக காற்று வரதுனால மரவாக இருக்குது. காலையில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா மழை வரா மாதிரி இருக்குது, வராது. ஏன்னா கரண்ட்டு ஸ்பீடாக இருக்குது, மழை வர்றதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இல்லை. மதுரையில் பெய்யுதுன்னு நீங்கள் சொல்கிறீங்க, அங்கத்த சூழல் எப்படி இருக்குது நம்ம அதை பார்க்கணும். இந்த மாதிரி தான் ஒவ்வொரு நாளும் கடலை பார்க்குறோம், காற்றை பார்க்குறோம், வானத்தை பார்க்குறோம். ஒவ்வொரு சூழலுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி இந்த படத்தின் மூலியமாக சூழல் மாறி இருக்கு அப்படின்றது இந்த படம் பார்த்த பிறகு உங்களுக்குள்ள கருத்தை நீங்க பார்க்கலாம். நன்றி.
So Parvathi, you're taking us all inside now. Yeah, so do join Parvathi in a walkthrough of the exhibition.
When you come in, there is a curatorial note that tells you what the remit of the Living Ocean is, which is to both celebrate the ocean as well as tell you, give you a state of the nation address about the ocean and how it is suffering from human activity in various ways, whether it's global warming, climate change, which leads to things like the stratification and the deoxygenation of the ocean. There's a beautiful set of panels there, light boxes, that Sindhura and I have designed over months speaking to scientists, which sort of breaks it down and kind of sets the scene. Then you come into this room where Sea Speaker plays, which is, as I was saying there, I don't know if you heard me, was the root of this exhibition, because I met Palemanna and I thought how amazing that there is so much artisanal knowledge in our city that we don't celebrate. So over the course of 2 years, I made this film. And while this film was being made, Debbie kind of heard of it and she said, let's do a show around it. And then everything else in the show was made from scratch, barring one old film of mine, which is there, which there is a reason for it there. So we've got everything in the show to speak to each other. There is, there's a painting of flying fish there. There is flying fish through puppets in this. There is this lovely artwork by the Hashtag Collective. As you move around, you will see what there is. There are mangroves and there are corals. But as you move around, there is devastation. The corals are bleached. The mangroves are devastated. There are turning boxes there, that will, as you rotate them, you see animals. For youngsters, they can guess what these animals are. They're all endangered fauna from the Indian subcontinent and the Indian Ocean. We've created things that we hope will especially be interesting for children, because we get a lot of them here. There's a lovely little burnt wood installation here of ocean professions, which we would love them to see and relate to. There are 16 inspirational stories here, so that nobody can say they can't do anything. These are all individuals who've made a difference. A lot of them living in our city, like Arun and so on. Then at the other end is an upcycled installation of ghost crabs, which are scavengers of our beach, and therefore a good guide on how we should keep our beaches. In the middle is a shell installation, which was a collaborative. People collected shells, brought shells, put them together. It's a collaborative installation. Take time to see it, but I'll just take you through and let you know what there is so you can see it all at your own pace. Welcome. So this is a place which is very dear to Indu and myself, whom I've known a long time. It's a hanging installation of diatoms, which are unicellular creatures that live in the water. And I worked with, a technology partner here called Forms and Gears. We did a lot of research to figure out how to do these things. And so it's nice when, there is kind of, when art relates to the outside world and, technology and science become a part of it. So these diatoms are things that live in the water. They have these fabulous shapes that you can see in the poster there. And we were trying to create this sort of ocean-like existence which would talk of what these diatoms do. And remember what I said about people talking to each other. So these, this sort of linear diatoms find an echo in this artwork, which is a community art project, which asked people in Chennai questions about the ocean, and they filled up these questionnaires. And their answers we've plotted in these strings. So each string is one person, and their age group is given here. So this is a pattern, a visual pattern of what people in our city think of the ocean. And it sort of yields up data too, because, for example, the one thing they didn't really know, most didn't know, was that every 2 breaths that you take, 1 breath comes from the sea. And I think what most people did know is that, the ocean supports many professions. Specially made for the show is a statue of Varuna, who is, the guardian deity of the ocean. And even now the Sindhi community looks at, is very special for them. And there is a whole poster. I won't tell you everything because there's a whole poster which talks about it, which you should see. There's an installation of vanishing birds that will vanish as you walk around them, which are all endangered coastal birds from South India. And the colors of this room is meant to evoke the ocean as much as the fishing nets installed by Palemanna and the hooks that he's installed as well. And behind you is the one old work, the only really old work in this exhibition, which is from 2014, which is called An Ocean in Every Kitchen. And I think it was important because it was the suggestion that I was just, filming ice melting in my kitchen. And as I was filming it, I thought, out there in the world, sea ice and glaciers are melting. And so our actions do have profound results, ripple effects in the world outside. And, no man is an island, neither is any woman. And what we do is connected to the world outside. So I thought it was important to have this as a work which, takes global warming and man's activities back a very long time ago. These are also old objects. The statue isn't, but these are from the collection of DakshinaChitra and, relate to the sea and the ocean in many ways. So I would invite you to walk around. There's lots of lovely infographics on the walls. There are stories. And the idea is that if something interests you, you can go towards an infographic and learn a little bit more about it. If you just want the visual impact, that's fine too. So this is your exhibition and I leave you to play in it. Thank you.
Warm welcome once more to all of you, and we are supremely delighted that we have some very eminent people, some experts and those who've really done extremely innovative, path-breaking work in the area of climate change and the environment. We have a mix today of administrators, of technocrats and of artists, all responding to what we now have to acknowledge as a global crisis. So much like DakshinaChitra's own programming, we do ask artists to respond. Sometimes the ability of the artist to respond to a particular problem is far more evocative, engaging, and enriching. So we have a mix, and we're very delighted to have a wonderful mix of people today. I'd first like to invite Dr. Supriya Sahu to speak to us. Dr. Supriya Sahu is Additional Chief Secretary, Environment, Climate Change and Forest Department of the Government of Tamil Nadu. She is credited with launching a highly successful grassroots environment campaign called the Operation Blue Mountain in the year 2000 to eliminate single-use plastic from the Nilgiris district, where she served as a district collector. She has received the prestigious Best Collector Award and the Green Award by the Government of Tamil Nadu for her work. In her current assignment, Ms. Sahu has been instrumental in setting up India's first not-for-profit venture to steer climate action, the Tamil Nadu Green Climate Company. And I must add that when I met Ms. Sahu, I felt I'd sort of really know her very well, because I'm a keen follower of hers on her social media platforms, which she uses very, very effectively to spread the green message. Welcome, Ms. Sahu.
Respected Gopal Krishna Gandhi sir, Ms. Deborah, Ms. Anita, Mr. Sharath, Madam Alarmeel Valli, Mrs. Malini Shankar, Mr. Rahul Nath, Director of Environment, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I must thank the entire team at DakshinaChitra for giving me this wonderful opportunity to come over here today evening, to be able to see the wonderful and, I must say, incredible exhibition which has got fantastic repository of information. And I'm really happy to meet with many of you over here. This exhibition on living oceans could not have come at a better time. As we all know, it has already been mentioned. And I must congratulate the curators, everybody, Anita and everybody else, all the artists for curating this beautiful exhibition. I definitely would recommend this to all my officers from the field, and I can be very, very happy. I'm very happy to see that this kind of a repository of information is made available at one place, which will be very useful for government officers also. So I definitely plan to bring my team over here to come and see as to how this information can be beautifully used to change many things in the government. Having said that, I must say that the entire focus in today's world, because of climate change, is shifting on oceans. Not only on oceans, but also shifting on communities which are living along with oceans. Our work in the Department of Environment, Climate Change and Forest is not only with oceans, it's also with the communities living across, several communities living, on oceans, earning their livelihood and making several changes in our daily lives. I will give an example. It was some time back when I made a trip to Pichavaram, which is one of the important places for mangroves. And I'm sure many of you have already made a visit to Pichavaram. If not, I would request, please make a trip to Pichavaram. You can see incredible mangroves. So Forest Department has provided legal protection to mangroves. And I'm mentioning over here why this fact, because it's very, very important now for us in this changing environment to make sure that we don't only say that they should be protected. I always mention that they should be legally protected, because that's a very, very important thing to do. Now, coming back to the story. So when I went to Pichavaram, and we were just kind of in a boat looking at the mangroves, and then there was this family, they were fishing, a family of local people. And then as we approached them, they had few things in some, boxes. And I asked the woman, "Ninge, ipo enna change da irukada? Ninge eppadi pandringa? Ungalku vande varumanam nalla varda? Are you getting enough income?" And she actually said what we are talking about. She said, "Enakku varumanam vande or nariya korinjirukku, or 40% ku keela poirukku. So 40%, less than 40%, my income has gone down by 40%. That's what she said. And she said earlier they used to fish, say for a few hours in the morning, and it will be enough. They will be able to get the entire quota done and they will return back. But in today's times, even though they fish for the whole day, she's not able to fill her basket with the fishes. And that was really, the living example of the change that we are all experiencing around us. So the change that is happening in the oceans, it is impacting the entire world, but it is impacting the local communities much more. And I think that is something maybe this exhibition highlights a little bit more, and that's why it was really very nice to see that the people from local communities were recognized and their contribution was also recognized. I must congratulate the entire team at DakshinaChitra as well as the curators who curated the exhibition. Second point I thought I would share with you is that yes, there is a lot that we are worrying about. There is a lot to worry about, the kind of damage that is happening to our oceans, the pollution, the kind of loss of biodiversity that is happening to our oceans. But I think we are looking at it, in Tamil Nadu at least, we are looking at it with a lot of positivity. We are looking at, very effective long-term action that we can take. And that is what, when I mentioned that the existing 40 square kilometers of mangroves, if we could protect legally, if we could if there is a degraded patch, if we could bring it back to life, it will add a lot of value. There is not much I can say because the election code is on. So I think it's very important for us to kind of, be aware that it is very important that we don't talk much about the action that we are doing. But I think it will suffice to say three things that I wanted to highlight, because we are talking about oceans. One, the incredible wealth of coral reefs, the incredible wealth of seagrass and mangroves that we have in Tamil Nadu, that needs to be protected at any cost. Because I think if we don't do it now, we'll never be able to do it. But that may look like a kind of a lecture. What I'm trying to say is that it is important to involve the local community to protect these precious resources. And that is when we will be able to make it sustainable. So when we talk about the mangrove restoration, a seagrass restoration, turtle conservation, dugong conservation, we talk about many other conservation of endangered species in the Gulf of Mannar, which has beautiful, a group of 21 islands in the Gulf of Mannar. It is very, very important to involve local communities in the conservation. So I was happy to see that it was very adequately represented in the exhibition today. And the second point I wanted to make was that the entire world is talking about carbon credits. The entire world is talking about how do we make sure that, we are able to monetize our biodiverse resources, get carbon credits and things like that. But I think I just wanted to highlight that it is also very important to look at these resources not as commodities. Because I think there is a lot of talk, you would also hear, you would read that we should have carbon credits, we should be able to, involve corporates to take these carbon credits so that they can offset their emissions. While that looks like something which is good because that will bring in resources to kind of conserve these important biodiverse resources, but it's important not to commodify. It's important to make sure that these incredible biodiverse resources, mangroves, etc., they are protected as as legally protected, so that nobody is able to kind of disturb what they are and how they can change the lives of millions of people on our planet. And the last point is that, which is a very, very important point, and again from a personal experience I can tell you, is that our work, whatever we are doing with the local communities, the wisdom of the local community is the most important thing. And who will know better than you? But I'm saying it from a government perspective. And we are realizing every day that when we talk about climate change, it's not that you need to reinvent the wheel. It is also very important to learn from the people who are living on oceans, who know how, like today, just an hour before we heard local communities talk about it. So I think it's important to listen to the wisdom of the local people, incorporate that wisdom in the programs that we are doing, and only then I think these programs could be made more sustainable. And that's what I would like to assure you, that whatever feedback you have, we are very happy to kind of partner with you, with the local communities, to kind of do anything and everything that we can do for our oceans, including controlling the plastic pollution, which is one of the leading causes of, the acidification of oceans. There are a lot of programs that we are kind of doing at this point of time, and I'm sure in the coming years to come, with the support of the local community and the NGOs, some of them who are here, and the good work that they are doing, I'm very sure we will be able to kind of, look up and look at a very positive future. Nandri Vanakkam. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sahu. We at DakshinaChitra will be delighted to invite to have your teams visit us, and also seek, any way in which a museum like ours could collaborate with your departments in order to take this message forward. We get a lot of students, school as well as college. We get a very interesting sort of cross-section of demographics at DakshinaChitra. Very happy to work with you on this. Next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Malini V. Shankar. Dr. Shankar is an IAS officer of the 1984 batch, Maharashtra cadre. Dr. Shankar is currently the Vice Chancellor of the Indian Maritime University, located just a few minutes away. She is an honorary member of the Board of Directors of the World Maritime University, having been nominated by the Director General, International Maritime Organization. Dr. Malini was selected in 2020 as one of the 7 global recipients of the AAA Award by the Asian Institute of Management, Manila. Prior to her current assignment, Dr. Shankar was the Director General of Shipping, Government of India. So it's very appropriate and timely that you're here with us. Welcome.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and good evening to one and all here. DakshinaChitra is not something new to me. I've been visiting this place since its inception and seeing it grow brick by brick, literally. I belong to Madras. I was in Maharashtra cadre, but I'm born and brought up in Mylapore, so this is something very dear to me. It's my heritage. It's a shared heritage. And I think you got the right person here, Supriya Sahu. I've been following, you've been following on social media, but I know her as a fellow bureaucrat, and wherever she is, she takes up very people-oriented initiatives, and I think you have no better partner than her to carry the thoughts forward. I have an interesting background to share. I seem to be born or have a link with the water sign. So when I got into the senior echelons of government, water was thrust upon me literally, because I started by being heading the Department of Water Supply and Sanitation. The next posting was water resources. The next one was environment. And I said, okay, I've gone from the tap water to the river water, to the lake water, so where will they send me? Sure enough, to the sea. So I'm somebody who went straight from the tap water to the sea. So really, I must be a water sign somewhere. We all know that oceans occupy 1/3 of the surface of the earth, and it's a rich repository of a lot of things: food, raw material, minerals, genetic resources, etc. But what has happened is, with the advancement of science and technology, with the enhancement of trade especially 95% of world's trade is actually sea-oriented, and the growth of other, increase in population, the seas have become, I won't say polluted, but the pristine waters are filled with human waste, it's filled with hazardous material and more. Because we think we can just throw something in the canal somewhere, the canal goes into the river, joins the river, and the river goes into the sea. And that's why I think Tamil Nadu government is taking a lot of measures in actually estuary management right now, Adayar estuary. Do we know we have 5 rivers in the city, and none of us know anything except the Kuam, and the Kuam is something we all avoid, right? So there's Kuam, there's Adayar, there's Kosal Talayar, and there are 2 more. If you go down the road, there is actually the Pala River joins near Kalpakam. So we are very rich in resources. There's a Frenchman who came to India, and he said, if I had this in my hometown, I would make this the most beautiful place for tourism and for recreation. But what do we do to the rivers? Just spoil them. I will just continue with this mangrove story of Pichavaram. I remember going there some 20-25 years ago when tourism had started. I think MS Swaminathan Foundation had a partnership with the Tamil Nadu Tourism Corporation to have mangrove, boating. And that time it had no motorboats. It was only rowboats. And they had actually, the foundation had trained a few fishing people from the fishing community to take people through these mangroves. It was very interesting because when I went there, and he's used to tourists, but then I said, okay, what is the name of this mangrove? What is the name of that mangrove, etc. And then he said, okay, now I'm going to take you deep inside. It was 1 hour. And then he told me stories about there are 18 types of species of mangroves in Pichavaram. And unless they show it to you, you don't know the difference. And the word for mangrove in Tamil is Thillai, apparently. Okay? And that is why the old temple of Chidambaram is called Thillai Ambalam, because Ambalam is the old Tamil word for temple, and it was a temple in the mangroves. So this is a kind of heritage we have that we have to preserve, like she said. On the part of government, again taking up with, taking off from what she said, the communities, the importance of the communities. the government, the Ministry of Shipping has a program, which is Sagarmala program. It's got 4 pillars. The first 3 pillars actually focus on ports and infrastructure, but the 4th pillar is coastal community development. So I'm sure there is opportunity for anyone interested, whether it's NGO, whether it is DakshinaChitra, whether it is any other entity, to have projects which you can propose for funding. It has to be, it's a partnership funding by the Ministry of Shipping and by the NGO or the entity concerned, which basically looks at protecting and developing the coastal community. So these are initiatives that are there, but we have to take it forward. Is climate change real? If you ask the ex-president of the United States, he says it's an imaginary. But I've been living near the coast, and we have a campus of the Indian Maritime University just on the coast, okay? And behind the coast, behind the university, it's just the beach. The beach used to be pretty flat. It used to be, just a gradient of very few degrees. I think about 18 months ago, and I sent that picture to Supriya, there is actually the beach is eroding, and you have to jump a full 4 feet from the beach onto, if you want to, you can't walk on the water. You have to jump, and you don't know whether you can get back up. So that's a kind of erosion. It could be cyclical, but I have watched the cycle. It erodes, but it's not coming back to its original. So I think climate change is real. It's obviously because the ocean is getting warmed up, and the warming is due to a lot of anthropogenic activities that we do. But the one picture that really strikes me as something, what have we done to the oceans, is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I don't know how many of you have heard about this. It's a vortex of trash and occupies something like 1.6 million square kilometers in the West Pacific Ocean. Yes, and it is a size of 3 times the size of France, and it's filled with plastic. And it's impossible to clean. They've tried it, they've attempted it, and they say that just to get one little patch near the United States cleared would take about 16 years or something like that. It's a huge thing. So this is what we do to the ocean. I think here I'm just going to share one of the stories during my college days decades ago. When we were studying, NSS used to be part of the curriculum. It was called National Social Service. So it was partly mandatory, partly voluntary. And I remember my friends from Loyola College, they used to say that they had to go to the slums and they had to teach them hygiene and sanitation. I mean, this was 30, 40 years ago, so it's not the same. There was no Swachhata Abhiyan. This is pre-Swachhata Abhiyan. So, and part of the things they used to do is you go there and they used to make sure that the children have a bath, the kids there. And they used to give the bath because the parents used to say, no, there's no water, there's no this. They used to give a bath. So every day they would go there and they would give them a bath every day or week or whatever. And then came the summer holidays, okay? After the summer holidays, they went back and they found the children had gone back to no taking a bath, dirty. So they asked the parents, Yamma, kulikalyan, ninga varathukku kaathutrukkom. Waiting for your holidays to be over. The reason that I was reminded of this, the relevance is actually, if you look at the Juhu beach in Mumbai, it's filled with trash. And there is an advocate called Advocate Afroz. He is an advocate by profession, but he spends all his time, his free time, gathering people to go and actually clean up the beach. We've been part of the cleanup. But the whole idea, he does that on an annual basis, he does that on a seasonal basis. But then his idea was that once he starts doing that, people will understand, that they have to get it done. But they're waiting for Afros to come back the next year and clean it up. And you know how much they sometimes get something like 5,000 tons of garbage. All kinds of garbage which they have to, maybe 5,000, maybe a small amount. I think the environmentalists would know. It's probably, somewhere I read, it's 15,000 tons every year. So that's a kind of, and the sea throws back what you give it. So very often you find, if you've been in Mumbai during the monsoons, in the height of the monsoon, when it's really raining, the sea literally on Worli sea face throws back the entire garbage onto the roads, and then the papers will carry this news. But I do think each one of us has to think. We have to find a movement to do this, and I'm glad DakshinaChitra and Parvathi Menon, especially when you came to see me first, I was wondering what you were going to do, but I think it's phenomenal what you have done. Ultimately, we need to instill in our minds and each of the people we meet and the youngsters the principle of intergenerational equity. The intergenerational equity saying that I inherited something and I have to pass on to the next generation what I inherited, at least in the same state, if not in a better state. And I think that is a principle on which we should work. The Living Oceans exhibition is an exhilarating, innovative initiative, and I hope that we will carry all our thoughts into actions forward, and we'll encourage all the people who see this exhibition to be inspired to do something on, individually and as a community for making the oceans living and making sure that the oceans don't go towards their death. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shankar. We do hope that your journey with water in any shape or form continues, though one doesn't know what is the next that you could expect. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Alarmel Valli, a distinguished and a very, very well-known Bharatanatyam dancer and choreographer, trained by the Pandanallur Sri Chokkalangam Pillai and his son, Pandanallur Sri Subbaraya. She has developed a distinctive style, blending classical precision with contemporary sensibilities. With over 35 years of groundbreaking work on Sangam poetry, Alarmel Valli pioneers its interpretation through dance, and thereby interpretation through dance, thereby enriching audiences worldwide. The accolades are actually too many to list, so I'll just say a few. But some include the Padma Bhushan, the Padma Shri, the Chevalier of Arts and Letters from the French government, and the Natakala Acharya from the Music Academy. Films on her include Arun Kopar's Pravahi and the national award-winning Lasya Kavya, The World of Alarmel Valli by Sankalp Meshram. It gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Valli.
Namaskaram. Dr. Debi Tyagaraja, all the dignitaries present here, the many great experts on the environment, on the ocean, fellow artists, Parvathi Nayar, and friends. To begin with, I just want to say that my place here, I feel, is I've expressed to Aruna that I was not a fitting person to be speaking here, particularly in the company of all these experts on oceanography or maritime studies. So what am I, a dancer, doing here? Because I can't give you any statistics, I can't give you any scientific facts. All I can say is that I'm passionate about the environment, and when I demurred about coming here, I was told, please give us an artist's perspective. So today, if I may, straight away, I'd like to express my response to the living ocean. It was such a moving, inspiring, beautiful experience. I know Parvathi Nayar is an artist of deep sensitivity, a wonderfully gifted artist, but I can imagine the mind-boggling challenge it must have been to create a cohesive and an organically structured multimedia exhibition, which not only makes us aware of the mystery and beauty of the ocean, but also of the chilling reality of the fact that we are killing this living ocean. And each element I found was like a loud cry, a lament for the fact that we are devastating our environment and killing ourselves in the process. I would like to speak about the film, if I may. I thought it brought together all that needed to be said. Through the sea speaker, through Palayamanna, there were so many wonderful vignettes, so much of wisdom that came through with simplicity and directness. I loved what he said about the fact he called the ocean mother, the winds his grandfather, and he says that it made him a better person. And I think that kind of response, and these are the people, you spoke about the fact, Dr. Sahu spoke about the fact that the best wisdom is that which we get from the people. And I think this was true because I came away from this exhibition educated, as I said, and also very, very much more aware of all that goes into the ocean and all that we are doing to destroy it. So thank you, Parvathi, for this wonderful exhibition, and thank you, Dr. Tyagaraj, for making it possible for us to come and visit it, because I think it's exhibitions like this, it is exhibits like this, because they do not educate through a dry, conventional manner. Rather, they quicken our imagination, they stimulate our awareness. And in this way, I think they make us far more responsive to the problem. I think for children in particular, the younger generation, this is going to be illuminating. I said that, I told Aruna that I would talk about nature and my dance, if I may just say a couple of words, because for me, nature has been like a guru. It has been central to my understanding, my interpretation of dance, and it is a recurrent motive in whatever I do, whether it is as metaphor, simile, idiom, sometimes even as a protagonist. And I'd like to say the genesis of this happened thanks to Gerald Durrell, the Kodaikanal Club library, where I discovered a zoo in my luggage and I think barefoot beagles, my family and other animals. And for the first time, I was aware of the fact that there is this symbiotic relationship between many species, and also that the human and the natural worlds are inextricably linked, inseparable. And this touched me, it moved me, and I think it has found expression in all my work. And through nature, I learn so much. I am enriched, I am illuminated, I find such joy. And I just like to give two examples before I conclude. One is that there have been many turning points. Gerald Durrell, certainly, who is my guru for the environment, is one of these turning points, milestones in my life. The other was when I discovered Sangam poetry. And there again, these are not just poems of love and war, these are nature poems. I've never ceased to be moved, delighted, enchanted by these poets, the power, their beauty, and also the fact that they identified so closely. That was with nature, and that was the kind of society that we had. And what have we come to? There is this beautiful song, I also find that sometimes that's why I think your exhibition is so marvelous, because it is far better to, when meaning is embodied rather than explained, rather than beating somebody on the head with a message, when it makes you feel. And there is this wonderful song called The Forgotten Seed from the Agananore, where a girl sees a young couple, her friend and her lover, engaged in amorous dalliance under a tree. And she goes up to them and very delicately points out the inappropriateness of their choice of place, because she says the tree is like their little sister. And in our culture, it may not be quite appropriate to be making love right under your sister's nose. So she explained, she says, we found a seed which we just planted into the earth. And when it sprouted, our mother said to us, this tree ranks as a sister to you, and it is greater than you. And therefore, she says, O man of the seashore lands, with its glittering waters and white conch shells, which sound like the soft music of bards at a feast, we are embarrassed to laugh with you here. Yet, if you wish, there's plenty of shade to be had elsewhere. This whole idea that that tree is your sister, this complete tenderness, this identification. And this, I said, was our culture, and this is what I think we need to learn from. In conclusion, I would just like to tell you, I said that nature is my guru. These days, with the cacophony of social media, with the tyranny of smartphones, I think it's very difficult for us to find time to allow the mind to go into neutral gear, to allow the mind to idle. And I think it's in these moments of what Arundhati Subramaniam, the poet, calls inspired idleness, that some of the most innovative and beautiful creative ideas occur. And I learnt a very wonderful lesson from a spider. You may wonder what the spider has to do with lessons, but this was in Italy. I was on a long tour, and one of the performances was in a hamlet. They had put us up in a cottage right on the top of a hill, bare hill surrounded by bare hills. And there was no performance that evening. My mother was writing her diary. The orchestra had gone for their siesta. And I was walking up and down, pacing up and down, very irritated. And she told me, "Ye puli zoola irukka puli mari meliyum kizhiyum nadandundirukka." So I told my mother, there's nothing for me to do. Enna pandrathu? I can't even read this. She said, there's that window with a ledge. Go sit on that window and look out. I said, what is there to look at? No trees even. She says, doesn't matter. You go sit there because you're very irritating. You go and sit there, look out, and you'll find something. True enough, I sat there, I saw the shrub and a spider building its web to, in that tree. And little by little, I got more and more immersed. It was almost hypnotic, meditative, watching it scurrying there, building this magical, marvelous feat of engineering. And if you ask me what, I can tell you that I felt I was transformed, that I was richer as a person and as an artist. And if you say, how did that happen? What does a spider have to do? I don't know, but like that silken thread that the spider uses, there was a thread which was spun to my subconscious, and some strange, wonderful alchemy happened, whereby I think there was an epiphanic moment of transformation. And I think that moment made me a better person. It taught me to be still, to be within myself. And also nature teaches you to observe, and that is so vital for artists. So I thank my mother for pointing me to the spider. I would, in conclusion, like to read. I completely went off my notes. I came with notes thinking I'll talk, and then both of you were so awe-inspiring with all that you said that I decided I would not. But I will like to conclude with John Donne poem, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Please excuse me if I read it badly, Mr. Gopal Gandhi. So you are a great poet, and I wouldn't presume, but since I have taken it up. No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of thine own or of thine friends were. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. And I like to think that this bell has been tolling very loudly for a long time, and we tend to ignore it. And if we do not realize that our survival is inseparably, inextricably linked with that of the ocean and of the environment, if we cannot live sustainably and foster the ecology, I think that we will end up killing ourselves. So thank you for everything, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this very beautiful occasion.
Thank you very much, Alarmil Wali, for your sublime and evocative talk. I'd like to now invite our last speaker, Mr. Rahul Nath. Mr. Rahul Nath is the Director, Environment and Climate Change, Tamil Nadu. He belongs to the 2012 batch of the Tamil Nadu cadre and was earlier our neighbor here. He was a collector of the Chengalpattu district. Okay.
Anevarukkum vanakkam. Good evening to all. I think after all the three eminent speakers, there's nothing much left for me to speak. But I've been seeing this Moplah House from scratch for the past 1 year. So I keep wondering what Sharath will be, keeping it with. But appropriately, he has kept an ocean life inside this museum. So I'd like to congratulate all of them who are behind this wonderful museum. And in Department of Environment and Climate Change, we work closely with all the students and all the younger generation in creating awareness about environment and climate change. So I think this Ocean Life Museum is a wonderful piece of art where we can bring our younger generation. And as Madam Alarmil Wali's life has been inspired by a small spider, I think the Ocean Life Museum will inspire many of us in conservation as well as spreading awareness about this wonderful oceanic life. And I'd also like to thank DakshinaChitra and the team here and for inviting me. I don't have much to say after the three wonderful lectures. But I'm sure that, as ma'am has told, our department will keep coming back just to learn from all those wonderful art which has been created in DakshinaChitra. So thank you. We also keep looking forward to you for such kind of artworks from DakshinaChitra. Thank you all.
Thank you. I request Parvathi to come up to give the plant gifts as mementos to our chief guest. May I request Ms. Supriya Sahu to Dr. Malini Shankar, Ms. Alarmil Wali, Mr. Rahul Nath, may I also invite Sangeeta Shivkumar, Ms. Supraja Dharani, Ananya to receive the plant gift from Debbie. Thank you so much, Ananya. I'm not going to stand too long between you and the concert, so I'll just quickly introduce Sangeeta Shivkumar. Sangeeta Shivkumar is a distinguished figure in Carnatic music. boasting a professional journey spanning over 3 decades. Beyond performances, Sangeeta is deeply committed to leveraging art to foster social dialogue and inclusivity, and we've seen her on several fora, on several platforms, speaking for several communities beyond the art community that they come from. Sangeeta has been a major part of initiatives such as the Chennai Kale Thiruvizha, aimed at democratizing art spaces, and has played a pivotal role in providing arts education to marginalized children. Her collaborative projects such as the Carnatic Katekuthu, which brings together classical and the folk, demonstrates her innovative spirit, the need for various art forms and artists to be in meaningful dialogue with each other. Thank you, Sangeeta.
I'm so happy to be here today, to be a part of this wonderful exhibition, Living Ocean exhibition with my dear friend and fabulous artist, Parvathi Nayar, at this, of course, this beautiful space, DakshinaChitra, and thank you so much, Anita and Deborah, for calling me today. And let me take this also to introduce my co-artists, two very talented young artists, stars, Gayatri Shivani on the violin and Sudarshan Srinivas on the mridangam, accompany me today. So I have just put together a few songs to present for you today, which will be relevant to the Living Ocean exhibition. And I have selected a few from the old traditional songs and also a few new compositions, all related to the theme of oceans, nature, creation, etc. We'll start the program today with a very famous Thevaram. Everybody would have heard this, Thodudaya Sheviyan. It is the first song written by Thirunjana Sambandar, the great saint, and of course it is to Lord Shiva, but going beyond the literal meaning of the description of the Lord, I think it is very relevant to today's exhibition because it talks about the Lord as a creator, destroyer and protector. So I will start with Thodudaya Sheviyan, and also this particular Thevaram is, I'm sure you all will know, is sung by almost every child in Tamil Nadu because it is taught in all the public schools and all the private schools too. So every child knows this wonderful song. It's a very special Thevaram. தோடுடைய செவியல் விடையேறி ஓர் தூவள் மதிச்சூடி 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 காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசி சுடலை பொடி பூசி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசி காடுடைய சுடலை பொடி பூசியன் உள்ளம் கவர் கள்மல் நேடுடைய மலரான் முனை நாட்பணிந்தேத்த அருள் செய்த 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 பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரம் ஏவிய பிரமாபுரம் பிரமாபுரம் ஏவிய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பிரமாபுரம் ஏவிய பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பெம்மானிவனன்றே பீடுடைய பிரமாபுரமேவிய பெம்மானிவள் நன்றே ஏ The song by itself is self-explanatory, so I don't need to say anything for it. Yelelo ailasa yelelo 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 ailasa yelelo 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 ailasa yelelo 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 ailasa yelelo கடலும் கலையும் ஒன்றுதான் ஐலேசா ஐலேசா பாடலும் தேடலும் ஒன்றுதான் ஐலேசா கடலும் கலையும் ஒன்றுதான் ஐலேசா ஐலேசா பாடலும் தேடலும் ஒன்றுதான் ஐலேசா ஏலேலோ ஐலசா ஏலேலோ ஏலேலோ ஐலசா ஏலேலோ கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று துடுப்பு ஓங்கி போட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று துடுப்பு ஓங்கி போட கடலின் கீதம் துடுப்பில் பட்டு ஐலேசா பாட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று துடுப்பு ஓங்கி போட கடலின் கீதம் துடுப்பில் பட்டு ஐலேசா பாட ஏலேலோ ஐலசா ஏலேலோ 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 ஐலசா ஏலேலோ கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று வலையை ஓங்கி வீச வலையை ஓங்கி ஓங்கி வீச வலையை ஓங்கி வீச கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று வலையை ஓங்கி வீச கடலின் தீபம் வலையில் பட்டு ஐலேச பாட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று வலையை ஓங்கி வீச கடலின் தீபம் வலையில் பட்டு ஐலேச பாட ஏலேலோ வைலச ஏலேலோ 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 வைலச ஏலேலோ. கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று கண்கள் கொஞ்சம் மூட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று கண்கள் கொஞ்சம் மூட கடலின் தீபம் உயரில் கலந்து வைலேச பாட கடலின் கீதம் உயரில் கலந்து ஐலேச பாட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நின்று கண்கள் கொஞ்சம் மூட கட்டு மரத்தில் ஏறி நில் கண்கள் கொஞ்சம் மூட கடலின் கீதம் உயிரில் கலந்து ஐலேச பாட கடலின் கீதம் உயிரில் கலந்து ஐலேச பாட ஏலேலோ ஐலச ஏலேலோ ஏலேலோ ஐலச ஏலேலோ ஏலேலோ ஐலச ஏலேலோ 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 ஐலச ஏலேலோ 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 வைலச ஏலேலோ 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 வைலச ஏலேலோ ஏலேலோ வைலச ஏலேலோ ஏலேலோ வைலச ஏலேலோ.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta, Gayatri and Sudarshan, for that wonderful and riveting performance. May I request Debbie to now felicitate the young artists with our plant gifts. And Gayatri, thank you very much.